It is accomplished. We are at the very end of a very long series where I have been ranking every single year of G.I. Joe, the original 1982 to 1994 run. I guess it's not the original, 1960s was the original. I know. But we've done it. And here we're going to finish it, almost. Here we're going to put it to rest tonight. I'm going to be talking about every single action figure and every single vehicle in 1994. Is it the worst year of G.I. Joe? It is definitely the last year. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Let's get into it. The last year of G.I. Joe. Other than the other 45 years after that. Okay, it's going to go on forever, I guess. But you know what I'm saying. Cue the music.
Yo, Joe!
Okay, here we are. So thank you for being with me for the series where I have ranked every single year of G.I. Joe. This is the last. What do you think? Is this the worst year? I ranked every year of G.I. Joe in this video right here. And I think I put this as the worst year. However, it doesn't mean that everything in the year is bad. There's always good, cool stuff. And I think if I remove myself from the G.I. Joe obsessive who's like, no, it has to be realistic, to go into and allow for the wackier stuff, I can see some fun in some of this. And so this won't be all a hate fest. As all rankings go. We start with the worst, we end with the best. Let's get into it. We're gonna put vehicles in this video with the figures, and the reason why is because there's so few vehicles that to put it in another video would just feel kind of sad. It would be a sad little ending to a very long series. So we're gonna put it all together here. So stick with me here. We're gonna rank everything in 1994. Let's get into it. By the way, let me know in the comments below what's your feeling about the year. Were you a little kid then? Maybe you loved it all. Maybe you loved some of it. Were you like me, older and just like jaded and being like, oh, this isn't G.I. Joe anymore. But there's a couple things that are kind of awesome, right? So let's talk through it. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite, what your least favorite are. Thanks. Okay, now, and where am I at this point? I am in college, so I will admit this was not my G.I. Joe at this point. I still certainly loved it, and I would go in and I would obsessed over it. So I was going to the store, I was checking it out. It was, I wanted to see what was coming out, but not a lot of this felt like G.I. Joe to me. So I wasn't, super into it. wasn't super happy with it. There's a lot in this year that I do not care for. Okay, so the worst figure of possibly the worst year of G.I. Joe is effects. Why is effects so bad? Look at this face sculpt, okay? I mean, he is just taking the world's biggest shit. As I talked about in my video on worst face sculpts, he was pretty high up towards the top. He's just a goofy figure. I don't know. He's just got a bizarro face sculpt. He kind of looks like the brother from Weird Science, just like Bill Paxton has this asshole brother from Weird Science. I don't know. It's just a goofy sculpt. He's got a bizarro helmet. And then he has this, they loved reusing this catapult launcher. I'm just like, what are catapults going to do in outer space? It's just, he's almost generic. He's super weird. I don't get it. I don't understand this figure. Next, we have Cone of Shame Duke. This is Duke version 6. This is an absolutely stupid figure. And this is so bad because he's got a helmet, which is basically, I call it the Cone of Shame because it looks like that dog, like Cone of Shame that you would put on a dog so it doesn't it gets wounded, so it won't lick its wounds too much. He's literally wearing that, but upside down over his head. Couple reasons why this is really stupid. One, it looks stupid. It's a very stupid design. Second of all, how is that going to help you in outer space? It's clearly exposed. So the cone doesn't help you in outer space. You are definitely dying of asphyxiation. So I just don't understand this figure in any way. Next in line, we have the Cobra Commander Star Brigade. Now, this is a bizarro figure. It's one of the worst figures I've ever seen. First of all, he has a giant helmet. It is just like, I don't know how you walk outside with a helmet that big. And it just has the most, he does some crazy headbutts with it. He also comes with this weapon that is it's a like harness with suction cups on it that allows him like walk. I mean, I guess you could say it's like he could suction cup onto a spaceship and like walk across it. It just looks absolutely stupid. This is This is not a good figure. Next in line, we have the Techno Viper version 2. And this is a purple and gold just eyesore of a Techno Viper. He came with a vehicle, the Power Fighters, which we'll talk about later. And yeah, just a very weird looking thing. Doesn't quite work for me. Okay, next we have Sci-Fi, Star Brigade Sci-Fi. This is the Star Brigade figures. Again, we're bringing G.I. Joe in outer space and we're giving them the enemies. The Lunartix Empire. So where their enemies are now not just Cobra, but aliens. And, you know, it was a let's step away from war. Let's step away from terrorists because, you know, I don't know, moms would get pissed off. I don't know what the deal is. Or maybe they just want to switch it up. But it's a goofy looking series. Now, I'm all for G.I. Joe in outer space, but often these designs just feel like they're putting G.I. Joe in just weirdo spacesuits. They're trying to reinvent the wheel, trying to be really creative. And the creativity is just too much. This one in particular, he does have this massive backpack. This is another thing I just don't like about the figures of this era is the decision to create spring-loaded weapons everywhere and large weapons made for figures that didn't feel believable. And it's like, for me, I don't know how you felt. Let me know how you felt in the comments below. For me, like, I was always like, I will admit a lot of times like the action feature was something that sucked me in. I was like, ooh, cool, spring-loaded. And then you shot it off 2 times and it went off and like hit your cat or something. And you're like, nah, this is dumb. When I fire something, I want to like know where it's going. I want to be able to direct it. I want to move it. And I don't want to have to hold on to this massive weapon that would just break your back to hold. I would rather just have, like, you know, it's like Zap came with a bazooka and it looked like a bazooka. And it just is fun. So he has this massive backpack with this cannon on it. And he also has like a hook, which I imagine you could put it on a string. And he would sort of zip line down, which could be sort of fun. But next we have Ozone, Star Brigade Ozone. And this is kind of funny. So he's Ozone from the Eco Warriors. And I noticed his hometown is 3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania, which this is like from the 80s. Something had like a chemical leak or something, which of course inspired him to become, you know, part of the Eco Warriors. Next we have Payload version 5, followed by Payload version 4. This is another thing they did this year, which was kind of annoying. It's like they gave you the same figure twice with a different colorway. And it's just, again, he's just like an eyesore of a figure. I'm going to give this one just a slightly better upgrade than the other one. And otherwise, he's just kind of generic looking. Next in line, we have Gears. And this came with a Power Fighter, which is sort of like a mech. Which, you know, it's not a great mech though, and you know, he's just got a real goofy face, so I'm gonna leave that one there for you. He's a technological genius, and he's from Westerly, Rhode Island, which is near where I live. It's like the ass end of Rhode Island, and no technological geniuses come from Westerly, so I don't buy it. Next in line, we have Windchill version 2. Windchill version 2 came with a vehicle here, and just a very generic looking version of Windchill. Now, I love the original version of Windchill. What sets Windchill apart from other characters is he had skis with machine guns on them. So if you give me Windchill and you don't have skis with machine guns on them, I am not interested. Thank you. Okay, so this is all, and these are all from called the Battle Corps. And the Battle Corps are like, I don't really get what the concept is. They're like more, I guess, high-tech troopers. And you're getting a ton of you know, your favorite characters reissued, but with garish colors. weapon trees. So this is why I think they've gone downhill here. And I know if you were a kid in 1994, you probably loved everything. I get it. But if you're comparing them, you're somebody who lived through the good years of G.I. Joe, and now you're in 1994, you knew like every character had like a unique weapon for the most part. It was their weapon, or they had a couple, sometimes they had a bunch of weapons. I was like Alpine, tons of weapons. And then you get to this stage, and all they're doing is they're taking the other weapons and they're putting them in the weapon tree. So you had to rotate them out and pull them out, and they all had the same color, and they were often very, colorful and like garishly yellow or pink or blue. And they're taking your favorite characters and making them look like space soldiers. So it just didn't work for me. I know I'm complaining a lot. The whole video won't be this, I promise. Now, on one good hand, I would say, is the weapon tree gives you a lot. And you had a lot of knives and blades, and I'm always a big fan of blades. So this is dial tone, and the thing you might notice is quite missing from dial tone would be any kind of backpack. Granted, he's got a helmet, but my understanding of dial tone is like he's got that super backpack where he can patch into a satellite. He can do a lot with that thing. It's like it was a sci-fi version of a communication device. It was something that could be awesome. And now all he's got is his helmet. It just doesn't feel like he's even the communications officer anymore. So, okay, next we have Battle Corps Flint. And this is a desert paratrooper Flint. And Flint is one of my favorite characters of all time. I'm an obsessive Flint fan. But here we have Flint in desert garb, and he's got a weird, goofy-looking helmet on. Otherwise, he's an okay, generic-looking soldier, and I guess giving him a desert uniform would be good. He does have one of those stupid guns that, shoots a rocket out. Next in line, we have everybody's favorite ice cream soldier. This is a guy who loves ice cream, and I once put him as one of the worst figures in G.I. Joe, but ultimately, now that I look at him, he's not as bad as the other ones at the end of this list. Because at least he has a cool look. He kind of has a cool look to him. I think his name is stupid. It's like he's almost the worst name. Obviously the worst. What is the worst name? Everybody say it with me. Everybody say it. Skidmark has the worst name. Skidmark has the worst name because his name basically means he shits himself on a regular basis. And Windmill is a pretty boring name, but Ice Cream Soldier is just not very intimidating. The fact that he does love ice cream, that they put that on the card, is really stupid as well. But he's a flamethrower trooper. He could be kind of fun, I guess. Let's throw in a vehicle here. We're going to start the vehicle countdown. Again, we're going to do the vehicle countdown parallel with the figure countdown, just because there's just not that many vehicles. It would be weird to do a video with 7 vehicles. That's all there are. 7 vehicles in this final year. 40 figures, 7 vehicles. I don't know why. At the last of the list, we're going to see the Scorpion, which is a tiny little sort of Jeep. There's something about the vehicles in this era. They just seem like the plastic got cheaper or something. They're using like a different kind of plastic. The construction just isn't there. Of course, the colors are off. And they just don't work for me. They look like from a different line. They don't really fit. They're not G.I. Joe. And I just can't get into them. This one is okay. It's got a pretty cool little front grill that looks like it would be good for smashing into things and ripping shit apart. It's got a rocket on the back, but it just looks cheap and garish. It almost looks like something you would get in that, that dollar store line that is kind of awesome, where you can go, and I kind of love those, where you go in and you get like the figures and they're all, a buck. Feels like a vehicle for them. I don't know. Okay, next in line, we have the Viper version 4. This is the Battle Corps Viper. And this is it just does not look like a Viper in any way. It's got, they gave him, another thing they did that's kind of annoying this year is they'll give a weapon that was sort of specific and interesting, and they just give it to a soldier. So it's like, he has monkey wrenches, weird harpoon gun thing, which makes sense for Monkey Wrench. He's a dreadnought. He's weird. He's got an odd weapon, the weapon that he can use to destroy shit. But now you're putting that, and then they gave him the jagged knife the Hydra Viper came with. And I just don't understand the thinking here. What is this? Then you read the file card and it says like there's standard issue, this is standard issue. It's like, you're not giving a standard issue weirdo harpoon gun to your Viper. That makes no sense whatsoever. So this is just a weird, the concept creep. It's just what's going on here. This is the sign. This is the beginning of the end, right? This is the sign, or maybe the end of the end. I feel like, you know, yeah. Next in line we have Metalhead version 2, and this is a pretty cool looking figure. It's bizarre, it's goofy looking, but there's a fun to it that I can kind of appreciate. He looks so space age. He looks like something from Barbarella. I mean, he's decked out in pink and silver. He looks goofy as hell. It's so goofy that I almost appreciate it. However, again, like, he's just generic in comparison to the other Metalhead in that he doesn't have the loadout that Metalhead has. That's those weird little strap to his leg missile launchers. He's got instead this more generic looking missile launcher. And that's sort of a shame. You know, I think when you have a character that is interesting in the way Metalhead could be, and you took what was interesting away from him, and so not great. In a very similar way, this is the newest Major Blood. This is Major Blood version 3, and again, he's missing, both Major Blood 2 and 3 are missing the robotic arm, which is very depressing. By the way, the robotic arm, you know, some people said it's not robotic, it's like a blast. According to Ron Rudat, it's robotic. That was his idea. He lost his arms, got a robot arm. Anyway, and you can find this out on 3D Joe's. By the way, 3D Joe's is sort of the unofficial sponsor of this, in that they allow me to use the images. At one point, I was just using the images, and I reached out and said, "Hey, by the way, I've been using these. Do you mind?" And now I've been better about saying in this description, I use 3D Joe's. Thank 3D Joe's, and so thank you to Carson and 3D Joe's. Couldn't have done it without you. You can see Ron Rudak talking about the robotic arm. He has little audio cues on 3D Joe's that tell you the design, and so that's where you find it out. And he said, "Yeah, it's a robotic arm." And they couldn't do it right, so that's why they had that one stiff arm, which I always loved, because it was just good for punching or clotheslining or something. It just had a good feel to it. So now somehow magically Major Blood's got his arm back, okay? And he looks like Phantom of the Paradise here. He's disco, superheroed out. It's just horrendously stupid. Oh god. I know I said I realize this is like a bitch fest. I gotta say, man, this is just like, they just ruined G.I. Joe at this point. This is just, I know if you were a kid, I apologize. You probably, like, you were in love with the stuff, or some of you really like the Neon era. I don't get it. I don't know why you love it. I don't. Other than you were a kid and you have nostalgia for it. I always felt like I always had, like, discerning taste with this shit. I was always a little bit of a prick. I think a lot of you share this with me. You just, even as like a 9-year-old, I was like sitting here going, I don't know if that's not quite G.I. Joe. I was like comic book guy from, like, but I was like that at like 9. I'm like, that is the worst episode ever. And that's sort of how I feel here. I feel like this is worst episode ever. I'm sorry. I just can't, you know, I'm trying to pull some good. On the first, last, obviously, when we get towards the top 10, top 15, maybe top, then I'll be saying some nice stuff. But right here, right now, this is mostly shit. Sorry. Okay, now we have Countdown version 3. And this is not a terrible figure. At least it's not terrible. That's the best as I can do here. In that he looks like a generically believable astronaut. If you remove that weapon and threw it away, you know, that big giant hand cannon thing, and just tossed it aside, and you just give him a regular old gun, and then you got a helmet, and you got a decent astronaut character. Okay. But he's missing all the good stuff. Like the other Countdown had this cool backpack with the little, you know, rope attachment with a grappling hook on it, and he just doesn't have any of that. So I don't get it. Next in line, we have a idea of Shadow Ninjas. The Shadow Ninjas, you dip them into water, warm water, and they become translucent. They've got inviso power. And then you put them in cold water, and they come back to normal. Now, it's just a translucent look. I mean, it's a gimmick. You know, again, you're getting ninjas, which is always fun because their weaponries come with a bunch of fun little weapons. So that's kind of cool. Bushido, never a fan. Now, I did notice something about Bushido, which is interesting because a lot of, as I may have mentioned in many other videos about ninjas, that a lot of the ninjas in G.I. Joe are, for whatever reason, Italian. They're all Italian. They're all Italian ninjas. Didn't realize there was a lot of Italian ninjas. Bushido is not. Bushido is Jewish. We got a Jewish ninja. Lloyd Goldfine. Sorry if I'm doing a stereotype. You know, whatever. All love. I'm glad there's a Jewish ninja. Bring in diversity. They don't all have to be Italian. There can be a Jewish ninja, an Italian ninja, maybe 3-4 more Italian ninjas, maybe even an Asian ninja. But I'm glad there's a Jewish ninja, okay? Nunchuck. Next we have Nunchuck, Ralph Balducci, Italian ninja. And a frustratingly horrific thing about this figure, which makes him really suck. Even though he's a kind of a cool one. He's freaking pink. Pink ninja. Pink ninja. Second of all, his name is Nunchuck. Want to guess what he doesn't come with? A nunchuck. He doesn't have a nunchuck! Who the fuck thought that it was a great idea to have this nunchuck have a whole weapon tree of ninja weapons? And not one of those ninja weapons is a nunchuck. I'm leaving, I'm done. It's his name! His name is Nunchuck. It's like... And the one good thing about him is, in this case, he's wearing all pink. Then you put him in the Vizzo thing, you put him in the water, and he's wearing white. So for a minute, he's respectable, and he's not wearing pink. Freaking pink ninja. But then, he warms up, and he's pink again. What's with this pussy ninja wearing pink? Men could wear pink, whatever. No, they can't. No, they can't. No. Next, we have Shadow Ninja Slice. Blue Slice. He's okay. He's all right. I guess, whatever. Let's move on. Okay, next we have Storm Shadow. And he just looks like Storm Shadow in cheap plastic. It just kind of sucks a little bit. I don't like it. Next, we have Snake Eyes version 6. And this, he's got a very odd look. Shadow power, whatever. And he's kind of purple. And it's just, what's going on here? Okay, and the last, probably my favorite, if I was going to pick one of these that I would actually want, which I wouldn't, is the Night Creeper. Because at least you got like an alternate Night Creeper. And I almost like the idea the Night Creeper has technology, and so maybe they do have this invisible technology. They have cloaking weapons or something, and it's got that alternate Night Creeper head, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, okay, I'll take this guy. He's all right. He's still pink for some reason, but what are you going to do? Okay, next in line, we have two vehicles. We're going to do them, knock them out. And we have, these are like mechs, and these are the Star Brigade Power Fighters, and these are basically their first attempt at having mechs in G.I. Joe and Cobra, the mechs that could fight each other. And as an attempt, and it would be great, obviously, like Exo Squad's amazing. If you could add some Exo Squad elements into G.I. Joe, maybe it could be really awesome. I think there's a way to do this. It would be very cool. This is not it, though, however. These are not good. These lack. These are really lacking. So one, we have Gears, who comes with the Star Brigade Power Fighter. And it's just a mess of weapons. Now, kind of badass. It does have a buzzsaw hand, tons of cannons, missiles, but it's just a blocky thing. It doesn't seem to move very well, so it doesn't 100% work for me. Slightly better, we have the Techno Viper that comes with the Star Brigade Power Fighter. This has a giant chainsaw arm, which is kind of awesome. I can almost appreciate it. Again, the mech doesn't move very well. It doesn't seem to really walk or anything, and so I'm not really sure. It looks like a blob of nothing. It just like almost looks like a Centurion that they piled too much shit on. I don't know. It's not great. Next in line, we have the Cobra Black Star. These are Cobras, sort of new astronaut soldiers, and respectably okay looking. They do have this massive, massive backpack missile launcher system that no human being could carry. Although I suppose they're floating in space, so I guess maybe the lack of gravity would make it work. Cool name, cool, semi-cool aesthetic. Okay, next line we have Space Shot, and this is another Star Brigade figure. This one kind of works for me for a couple of reasons. One, I don't really like the fact that they're using so many characters and giving you new and inferior versions of them. The fact that we have a countdown and a payload and another payload and all of this, when the payloads that you already got were way better and the countdown that you got was way better. To me, it's just like if I was to buy these things, I would be tossing in a pile and just using the original payload. So at least this guy's a new character. Another thing I love about this guy is he's got mustache power, and mustache power always trumps that does not have mustache power. The second reason I really like this guy is he has actually a backpack that has a grappling hook system on it. So that is a kind of fun feature that I think would have been really cool and really fun to play with. And it would actually climb, so you'd press a little button and it would... A thing that is just mystifying to me is that his helmet, again, has a very open space. Maybe you're like supposed to imagine there's glass there, but there isn't, and his mustache is not going to filter out the lack of oxygen. So I don't know as much as powerful as mustaches are. So he's a weird one. He is a weird one, but kind of fun functionality in his action feature, and at least you're getting a new character. And we're grasping at straws here, trying to find something good. So here you go. Next we have Snowstorm. And Snowstorm is an Arctic Battle Corps trooper from Havana, Cuba. And he doesn't look garishly ridiculous, and he has weapons that are relatively reasonable, except he does have the one stupid, launchable weapon, but he's got a couple machine guns. But he looks like he actually could fit within a generic, trooper line of yet another very cool snow soldier. Why you would put a man from Havana, Cuba in an Arctic environment, I don't know. I guess that's kind of the irony. Somewhat interesting. Not bad, not bad. Next we have Battle Corps Lifeline, and this is another version of the Battle Corps, but I think this one stands out as being kind of okay. It's a new version of Lifeline. Is it as good as the original? No. But does he look like he could be some sort of rescue worker? He does. He sort of fits. Now, as far as his weapons goes, he has the most oversized, ridiculous grappling hook gun I've ever seen. It is twice the size of him and is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't get it. But if you throw that to the side, which I would have tossed that thing, the first thing I did when I got that, would toss that in a giant pile of shit and never look at it ever again. And the figure is okay. Next in line, we have Beachhead version 3. And this is an okay version of Beachhead. It's not my Beachhead, but, it a passable figure. And that's as good as it gets here this year. Okay, next in line, we have some figures that were created as the Action Soldier 5-pack. This was sort of an anniversary tribute to the original G.I. Joe line, where they have very standard looking military figures that represent, figures from the real military. And these were, things that you would have gotten in your 1960s G.I. Joe, some of the uniforms that he would have come with. And so they're all these are pretty great. This is a pretty great part of this year. I think all these work. They're an odd sidestep, and so they don't necessarily fit into the G.I. Joe lore, but they're good figures. First here we have the Action Soldier, and this guy's pretty great. He comes with a little mini wall and a mortar and just a little play set. It's like a mini play set, and he just looks like the most generic soldier ever. Okay, next in line we have the Action Marine, and this guy came with a raft and a missile launcher, and that, man, he looks pretty great. Now the missile launcher unfortunately is one of those firing mechanisms, so it looks too big. It doesn't really work. And he looks like a very generic looking green shirt type of character. This would have totally worked in the 80s, I guess 90s. In the cartoon, they always had these green shirt characters, which I was never a fan of. For me, I like the Steel Corps. Instead, I like to have those guys be my legions. But they always had the green shirts in the background. So these figures could have worked as green shirts. You could have had them as the background figures for your G.I. Joes. Certainly would have worked. Next in line, we have our Action Pilot Astronaut. This is pretty great. Got a very realistic looking action soldier astronaut costume, but he came with that real like action space capsule kind of thing that you can see in a science museum and like walk in. It's a real thing that really existed. That was awesome. I didn't buy any of this stuff. I didn't have any of this stuff at the time. I wasn't buying everything. Didn't have the money for that. I was in college. I was spending money on other things. Like. And so for me, I was limited in what I was buying. I didn't buy a lot of this stuff. I did buy a handful of things in 93, 94. But, and this is sort of what I would regret. I would have liked to have gotten this. Next line with the action pilot. This guy came with a parachute and looked pretty great and certainly would have worked as a very cool looking G.I. Joe figure. What I like is the face sculpt does really look like the original G.I. Joe face sculpt. So that adds a little detail and makes it kind of even more fun. Next in line we have the action fighter pilot, and this guy also has very cool look, but he's decked out in all black. He looks way more badass, and so therefore he gets the higher spot here. And he was a convention exclusive, so pretty hard to get. Next in line we have the action sailor, and this thing is awesome. It actually comes with a very cool looking little sort of underwater motorized vehicle thing. So that's a win, man. This thing would have been awesome. I didn't have him. I kind of regret it. And they gave him a whole, loadout of harpoon gun. He basically have wetsuits loadout and this very cool looking underwater motorized thing. Next in line, we have Roadblock version 7. And this is Spacesuit Roadblock. And he's got an orange spacesuit with kind of a giant helmet on it, which is not that great. But ultimately, I think I'm okay with this because he does look just like a generic astronaut guy, and it's like you've got Roadblock in space now. So this is a cool figure. Like this is for me, like he works as having, you ultimately could have every Joe in a astronaut uniform. But most of the time what they do, like they do Duke, they put the cone of shame on him. At least they just made a generic astronaut uniform for Roadblock, and now you get a pretty cool Roadblock in an astronaut uniform. That works for me. Next in line we have Battle Corps Stalker, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to the designers, but their brain broke, and they finally made a figure that looks like an actual G.I. Joe character in an actual uniform of some sort, and a soldier in some sort of time that is close to ours. This is a perfectly acceptable version of Stalker, one of the greatest characters in G.I. Joe. He is just decked out in all black with a couple little yellow highlights, but he looks like he's ready for a night fight. He has a machine gun and a machete. Of course, they have to ruin him by putting in stupid shit in his file card. Apparently, he likes to shout, "Let's party," which I don't like people who use party as a verb in general. So I don't know what that's about, but if you ignore the file card, he's perfectly fine. And now at the end here, we're actually getting some figures that are okay. They're fine. They're not the best figures you've ever seen. They're not going to make your top 10 list or anything, but they would be passably fine. And if this is what you got when you're a kid, you'd be all right with them. Okay, now we have the Alley Viper version 3, and this is a kind of awesome version of the Alley Viper. He's got a very cool Cobra-shaped shield, and he's got a very awesome head sculpted faceplate for his helmet that's got these like sharp fangs on it, and it's just like sharp and angular, and he's almost like feels like an alternate version of the Alley Viper, because this one is decked out in the original Alley Viper colors. It almost looks like it's like a Ralph McQuarrie, did like Darth Vader, and then the drawing, and then there's the Darth Vader, and both are kind of cool. That's how I feel about this. It's like, it's not my Alley Viper. It looks almost like a concept drawing of the Alley Viper and it's kind of cool, and it works. I do love the Cobra shield. The Cobra shield is really cool. Going back to our vehicles, we have the Battle Corps Blockbuster, and this is an Arctic vehicle.
It's way too cool! Breaking the ice with a knock off your Blockbuster!
Very, very massive vehicle. Big cannon at the top, kind of an odd looking cannon. This is a big piece, lots of machine guns in the front, grill. What I think I don't like about this vehicle so much is it's so big. It's like really taking up a lot of space, but there's not a lot to it. So it's like, it's sort of combining that, it's just like, it's almost size is its only real feature here. It's like, For me, it's like you take other figures, other vehicles that are big, like the Battle Wagon or something. It's a massive vehicle, and it's got a lot of play value, got a lot of stuff going on here. And this is just like a kind of bland Arctic vehicle. I don't get it. Next in line, we have Battle Core Shipwreck. And yet again, we have another figure that just looks like an actual human being in actual uniform that would actually work in a military. It's also, we're getting Shipwreck and we're getting an alternate Shipwreck. I'm digging it. And this is like Shipwreck in a Frogman uniform. So kind of awesome. You're getting, there's no reason to think that there wouldn't be moments when Shipwreck is going to go be Frogman. Sure, why not? So in having, different uniforms for figures, otherwise it's a great looking Frogman figure. So this is a figure that would work in a different year. It almost doesn't feel like it comes from 1994, which is why I like it, because this year sucks. Sorry, it sucks. I don't know. Weirdly, now they've switched Shipwreck into a Navy SEAL, which he's never been. So I'm not really sure what that's about, but, whatever. Okay. Going back to the vehicles here, which, like I said, there's almost none of them. We have the Manta Ray, and this is a cool little raft that's actually kind of sleek and kind of badass. And it's just like a fast attack raft. Almost like the Night Landing, a little bit more fantastic, a little bit more unrealistic. It's got missile launchers, and it has wind-up power, so you can wind up, put it in your bathtub. The only problem with this thing, this actually would be an awesome toy in any year of G.I. Joe. I think the only problem is the garish, super bright green, which is like if you're going to attack a Cobra and you're floating into Cobra Island on a motorboat, I don't think you want it to be like super bright green. But otherwise, this thing kind of rules. Okay, and our best vehicle of the year, and it's not saying a lot because, man, it's a turn of a year for vehicles. I mean, some good action figures. But that's why we're going to stop right here, because all the figures here from now on are better. It's been a bad year for vehicles. Okay, but the Razor Blade would have been real fun. It is a weird looking little helicopter that does work in the world of G.I. Joe. It just looks like a fast attack little mini helicopter, armored. It's got rockets, it's armored up, it's almost Skyhawk-ish. But what it did is it had this very fun sort of zip line technology thing where you had a string that you could put between, and you could just slide it down and you just slide this thing down a zip line. And I think that would have been really kind of awesome. And it also has this feature, so it's like a zip line thing. It's kind of awesome, actually. I don't have one. I think I want one. And it has like a little hook thing, so it can go and rescue people and grapple them, and man, that looks, I gotta admit, that's fun. That's totally fun. That works for me. So yeah, a couple good vehicles out of the year. Everything else is crap. Let's get back to the figures. Okay, now we're at our last few figures, and you're gonna be surprised, as being a little bitchy complainer about all this year, that I'm gonna put the weirdest and most ridiculous figures of the entire year at the top. But I am, because I gotta admit, as much as I don't like the idea of G.I. Joe fighting aliens, to me it's like, we've got Cobra, we've got terrorists, we've got even, maybe Cobra La, but we've got terrorists to fight, and that is fascinating enough. I don't need to go to outer space and fight aliens. I will admit that if I was a kid and I had grabbed these figures and just like gave in the way I did with Cobra La, I had the same reaction to Cobra La. Cobra La came out, I was like, G.I. Joe shouldn't be fighting the weird, fantastic monster creatures from the Himalayas and shit. They should be fighting Cobra terrorists. But then I was like, but I love the design. The Lunartic's Empire, I'm going to say, I gotta kind of love the design of all of these figures. They're fun. They're really fun. Do I want them in classified? I do not. Don't have any interest in having them ever. I just think it's just not G.I. Joe to me. But if we got to find some good out of this the last year, I think all of these would be really fun. If I had mixed those in with my Star Wars figures or something, or Captain Power, or some other line that was like 3 3/4, they would be awesome. They would be top of the line. So I think the fact that the designers really knocked it out of the ballpark, just creating really interesting and fun aliens. Do they belong in G.I. Joe? No. But are they fun? Hell yeah. Of them, I'm going to say first we have Carcass. And Carcass has long wraparound arms. What I liked about these is they were a little larger than G.I. Joe's, a little more intimidating. He does have kind of a goofy face. And he does this really cool feature, like look, these flaps that come out of his stomach that you can imagine be like little claw hands, almost something like what I think happens in The Thing. They could grab like an arm and like rip it off or something. And those stretchy arms, he's kind of fun. What's bizarre is then they gave him like weird random machine guns that are like human guns, and then I don't get. I think if you're going to go and make weirdo, bizarro alien, you got to give him the alien weapons. They didn't do that. And he's described as being boneless alien arms, which would be very cool because you could wrap them around and strangle people with them. So he's fun. Even more fun than him is Predacon. This guy looks like the Predator a little bit, but he's blue and kind of goofy looking, but he's got 4 arms. And having a 4-armed character would have been really fun in G.I. Joe. Again, he's got a machete. He should have like a laser sword or something. He's got machine guns. It's like, why is he using earth weapons? I don't get it. He does kind of have the dreads like the Predator. He does look like he's like a goofy Predator, basically. But the best and most awesome figure of the Lunatics Empire has to be Lobotomax. First of all, his name is Lobotomax. Second of all, his tail has a hand on it, and it's got like a prehensile tail with a hand that can carry weapons and shit. That is so cool. He's got 4 feet. He's got a giant long head. It looks like he's got like he could do some really crazy headbutts with that head. He could like crush people with that head. And a goofy looking face. It's basically, if you read his file card, it says he's slow because he had a laser fight with Predacon. He lost and cut off part of his brain. So he's a stupid. He's a stupid. He's not a smart alien. But, so he's a stupid alien. But very cool, man. How fun would that be? You could have him just headbutting people, whacking people with his tail, using his knife. Tail could be whacking people with a knife. Yeah, that thing is awesome. I gotta admit, it's awesome. Didn't have him. Might have to eBay him right now. But it's not my G.I. Joe. It's not what I want from G.I. Joe. But is it an awesome figure? It is. But the number one figure of 1994, an actual figure that I do like, that I do actually desire, is Joe Colton. And this was a mail-away figure, and this, of course, is the original G.I. Joe brought into the line, and Larry Hama brought him in a really interesting way in the comic book at the same time. He had him be like the inspiration for the G.I. Joe line. You know, he's given this command by JFK right before JFK goes to Dallas, gets shot, and he becomes a super soldier, and then he ends up becoming like an elderly statesman of G.I. Joe, helping them out. What's weird is the Joe Colton figure, which is a very standard military-looking figure. He's a great figure. It works pretty well, but he does not look like the G.I. Joe of the 1960s and 70s, which is a little weird. It's weird that they wouldn't have made him look like that, the bearded guy. He's got a much different look. I think that would have been better to make him just look straight up like the original G.I. Joe. Still, I appreciated having him in the line, and it was a fun addition, and there you go. That is 1994. We have done it. We have completed the series from the entirety of 1982 to 1994. Thank you for coming along with me on this ride. Is the ride over? Not really. Of course, we have tons more G.I. Joe to talk about. We got G.I. Joe Extreme, Sergeant Savage, 25th anniversary, 50th anniversary, G.I. Joe Classified. We've got tons more to talk about. And then other lines too. Like I'm thinking I might start, and I've started ranking other lines of the 80s, and I think that's very fun to do. I had Power Lords, and I did some He-Man stuff, and I'm planning on doing all of that. But we have completed this series, and you can see the whole thing from 1982 to 1994. Every single figure and every single vehicle ranked. You can watch that right here. Thank you for coming along with me on this ride. Let me know what you thought of 1994, the very last year of G.I. Joe. Was it the worst year of G.I. Joe? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for your support. and I'll see you in the next one.